You are honestly not going to believe this, are you? But it turns out that all my deep dives into the drama between Brooklyn and Nicola have struck a serious nerve because they have actually gone ahead and blocked me on Instagram. And you know what? I find that absolutely fascinating because when you really look at it, the way Instagram is being weaponized in this entire saga is the most interesting part of the story. Let's keep it 100% real for a second. In the United Kingdom, the Beckham brand isn't just a famous name, it is basically a state religion. To the rest of the globe, the Beckhams are far more than just a celebrity family. They are a massive $500 million enterprise. In fact, they are arguably the closest thing Britain has to a global monarchy that the public actually enjoys watching and rooting for. First, you have David, the undeniable national treasure, a man who could literally stand in the middle of an empty stadium doing absolutely nothing and still sell out every single seat. Then you have Victoria, the woman who somehow pulled off the impossible miracle of pivoting from a 90s pop star sensation into a legitimately respected heavyweight in the high fashion industry. United, they constructed this impenetrable fortress built on flawless family aesthetics, rigorous discipline, and just pure, unfiltered glamour that the rest of us can only dream of. However, as we settle into the start of 2026, the foundations of that fortress are starting to show some serious cracks. Because if you look past the perfectly curated Instagram grids and the colour-coordinated outfits in the Cotswolds, something fundamental has shattered. The scary part is that this fracture didn't happen with a massive explosion or a public screaming match that everyone saw coming. It happened silently. It was a quiet creep that struck right at the very heart of the family tree involving their firstborn and former pride and joy, Brooklyn. For the longest time, Brooklyn was the designated golden child. We all watched him grow up in the tabloids, evolving from that sweet, slightly awkward kid into a young man finding his way in the world. Then enter Nicola Peltz. On paper, this union looked like it was engineered in a public relations laboratory to be absolute perfection. You have an American heiress hailing from a dynasty worth billions, linking up with the heir apparent to the Beckham empire. This was supposed to be the transatlantic crossover event of the entire decade. But instead of a fairy tale, it turned into the match that ignited the fuse on one of the most whispered about family feuds in the history of modern pop culture. Of course, every war has a catalyst, and for this one, the first shots were fired over a wedding dress. We all know the story by now. But fast forward to January 2026, and things have gone way past awkward tension at holiday dinners. Insiders are now describing the current state of affairs as a total legal and communication blackout. We are witnessing missed birthdays, blocked social media accounts, and a dramatic shift in allegiances that has left David and Victoria staring at an empty chair at their own family table. So the million-dollar question is, how did the world's most seemingly unbreakable family unit disintegrate without a single public argument ever being caught on tape? Stick around because the manoeuvring happening right now behind the scenes involving lawyers and non-disclosure agreements is about to alter the Beckham legacy permanently. Every massive celebrity wedding has that one defining photo that encapsulates the whole event. But for Brooklyn and Nicola, the defining moment wasn't the romantic first kiss. It wasn't even the outrageous $4 million price tag of the ceremony. No, when history looks back, it all came down to the gown. The moment the news dropped that Nicola would not be walking down the aisle in a Victoria Beckham original, the rumour mill went into overdrive, suggesting the feud began the second she refused to wear her future mother-in-law's label. Nicola rocked 3 separate looks throughout the wedding festivities and the after-party, and shockingly, not a single one of them bore the Victoria Beckham tag. Naturally, the public relations teams went into damage control mode, immediately chalking it up to creative differences and claiming Nicola just had her heart set on a specific Valentino aesthetic. But come on, let's read between the lines and look at the reality here. In the Beckham universe, fashion is not just some casual side hobby. It is the core of Victoria's existence. It is her love language. Every single major life event in that family has been meticulously styled and branded under her watchful gaze. So for Nicola to bypass a custom VB creation and opt for a rival designer house that wasn't just a simple personal preference or a stylistic choice, in the cutthroat high-stakes arena of billionaire personal branding that move was a loud declaration of independence. It was a calculated power play. Whispers leaking from their inner circle suggest Victoria was totally blindsided by the snub, with rumours that she had already begun drafting sketches for the big day. She had cleared her entire design schedule to focus on it, and then radio silence. Reports say Nicola's team just stopped communicating with her entirely. Just imagine being Victoria Beckham, a woman who has spent 30 years curating a flawless image only to be effectively ghosted by the woman marrying your son. When the wedding finally rolled around, Victoria did exactly what she is famous for. She put on her oversized sunglasses and smiled for the paparazzi. But behind the velvet ropes, insiders claim she felt utterly humiliated on a global scale. She was essentially outshined in her own arena, and that dress sent a message louder than any wedding bell ever could. The message was clear. Nicola Peltz had zero intention of becoming just another accessory in the Beckham collection. She was constructing her own spotlight, and she certainly didn't need Victoria's blessing to switch it on. Once the party lights dimmed in Florida, the slow fade began. You know that sinking feeling when your best mate gets into a new relationship and just sort of vanishes? Now imagine that playing out on the world stage with a family that documents every single Sunday roast dinner. All of a sudden, that impenetrable united front had a gaping hole right in the middle of it. The Beckhams continued with their usual routine: the high-profile fashion shows, the cosy weekends in the Cotswolds, the casual yacht vacations in the Mediterranean. But Brooklyn, he was nowhere to be found. Initially, the fans rationalised it, saying, hey, they are newlyweds, give them some room to breathe. But then weeks turned into months, and months dragged into a year, and then 2. Victoria's runway shows used to be a mandatory, non-negotiable family reunion. You would always see every single Beckham child front and centre with David beaming next to Anna Wintour, but suddenly the seat next to Cruz and Romeo sat gathering dust. Then came the Christmas cards. David Harper and the younger boys all present. But no Brooklyn. When the press started asking questions, we were fed the standard busy schedule nonsense. But let's be real, we live in the era of social media surveillance. We can track exactly where everyone is at any given moment. So while the Beckhams were popping champagne in London, Brooklyn was spotted in Los Angeles, seemingly living a completely separate existence. He wasn't merely skipping a few events here and there. It looked like he was being systematically erased from the family narrative entirely. The divide between them wasn't merely physical distance, it was a gaping emotional chasm. There was a deliberate, almost cruel intention behind David letting the entire world know that his son simply refused to show up. The smoking gun was that heartbreaking Instagram story where David tagged his eldest child with a simple "miss you," knowing full well Brooklyn was ghosting him. When fans saw that the collective reaction was a gasp of disbelief, it became undeniable that Brooklyn is currently the rope in a brutal, high-stakes, emotional tug-of-war. It is a battle between his mother's ironclad expectations and his wife's demand for a total separation. And looking at the scoreboard, Brooklyn has planted his flag firmly in the Peltz territory. Welcome to 2026, where you don't need a publicist or a sit-down interview to declare war on your family. All you need is a shady caption or a calculated silence. If you scroll back a few years, Brooklyn's Instagram feed was basically a shrine to his parents. Now the tone has shifted from adoration to icy detachment. The turning point was subtle but lethal. He posted a generic photo thanking someone for a gift, but conspicuously dropped the "thanks mom and dad" tag he had used religiously for a decade. Internet detectives were on the case within minutes. The comment section turned into a total bloodbath, with everyone demanding to know why Victoria had been erased from the narrative. The post was quickly panic deleted and then re-uploaded, but this version had a twist. He went out of his way to specifically tag the Peltz clan. He heaped praise on Nicola's parents for their unwavering support. Let's call it what it is, a digital middle finger aimed straight at the Beckham brand, and it was definitely not an accidental oversight. This was a calculated strategic strike. It was designed to rattle Victoria, a woman who meticulously curates and controls every single pixel of her public image. The move stung because it wasn't just a private snub behind closed doors, it was a public declaration of allegiance to a rival billionaire dynasty. Word on the street is that David desperately tried to play referee, begging Brooklyn to keep the family drama offline, but the horse had already bolted from the stable. The heir has seemingly traded his Beckham blue legacy for Peltz gold. Usually, birthdays in the Beckham household are treated like week-long international holidays. So when Victoria turned 51, the entire gossip industry was refreshing Brooklyn's feed. A birthday shout-out is the absolute bare minimum requirement, isn't it? We expected the standard vintage baby photo with a "love you mum" caption. Instead, crickets. Absolute deafening radio silence. Romeo, Cruz, Harper, they all posted glowing tributes. Even the family pets probably had scheduled content, but from the firstborn son, not even a double tap. Insiders are now claiming busy schedule is a lie. The rumour mill since late 2025 suggests Brooklyn has essentially hit the block button on his immediate family's accounts. It is getting to the point where if you try to tag him in a Beckham family throwback, the handle doesn't even populate. That is a deliberate severance. Victoria is reportedly shattered behind closed doors, but she is a pro. She will wear the oversized sunglasses and the pout. She is never going to let us see her cry on camera. David, however, wears his heart on his sleeve. He has always been the family glue, the patriarch who values tribal loyalty above all else. Watching his golden boy treat Victoria like a casual acquaintance that is breaking him. The invincible hero persona is starting to show hairline fractures. The tension peaked when David turned 50 last May. That milestone was billed as the potential peace summit of the century. It was a massive blowout bash. The guest list was a who's who of London society, with every A-lister imaginable in attendance. The core four, Victoria, Harper, Romeo and Cruz, stood shoulder to shoulder presenting that classic united front for the man who built their empire. Here is the kicker: Brooklyn and Nicola were physically in London just days prior. Yet when the champagne popped, they were complete ghosts. Sources say David kept a seat open at the head table until the appetisers were served, desperate for that legacy-securing father-son photo op. It was a no-show. No surprise entrance, no heartfelt toast, and shockingly, not even a public happy birthday dad on social media. That night, a clearly emotional David posted a snap fishing with his younger sons. The caption was a dagger to the heart. "Miss you, Brooklyn." It wasn't written in anger. It was pure grief. It was the realisation that his boy wasn't just geographically distant, he was spiritually gone. And the response, zero. Actually worse than zero. Brooklyn posted a story of a steak he was searing in Los Angeles. The contrast was absolutely savage. On one side of the Atlantic, a soccer legend mourns his family unit. On the other, his son is living his best foodie life completely unbothered. To understand this defection, you have to follow the money. The Peltz clan doesn't just have cash. They have "we own the bank" kind of wealth. They have billionaire status. Nelson Peltz is a titan of industry whose net worth is so astronomical it makes the Beckham fortune look like quaint pocket change. When Brooklyn decamped to LA, it wasn't for the sunshine. He was effectively assimilated into the Peltz corporate and social machine. Rumour has it, Nelson has taken Brooklyn under his wing, bringing him into high-level meetings and treating him like the serious heir he apparently craved to be. He has shed the skin of David Beckham's kid. Now he walks and talks like a Peltz proxy. The Peltz way is different. It is old-school power, extremely private, heavily insulated, and by all accounts, incredibly controlling of the narrative. Insiders suggest the Peltz family offered him something Victoria never could: a sense of individual agency. In London, he was always just the son. In Palm Beach, he is the husband. It is a total identity overhaul, and frankly, he seems to have drunk the Kool-Aid. Look at the evidence, legally changing his name to Brooklyn Peltz Beckham and pivoting from failed photographer to aspiring chef under the Peltz umbrella. He swapped the muddy boots of the British countryside for the marble floors of Florida. It wasn't a relocation, it was a defecting soldier crossing enemy lines. You cannot discuss this saga without drawing the obvious parallel to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. The Brooklyn-Nicola dynamic screams Harry and Meghan energy. Think about it, the cherished British prince, the glamorous American actress heiress, the dramatic exit across the pond, and the subsequent freeze-out of the family. The press has already crowned them the new runaway royals of pop culture, and they seem determined to play the part to the bitter end. Just like the actual British monarchy, this massive rift is tearing the public right down the middle. On one side, you have the die-hard Victoria loyalists who are absolutely convinced that Nicola has completely brainwashed Brooklyn. The theory is that she has systematically isolated him, dragging him away from the warm, tight-knit embrace of the family that raised him to serve her own agenda. Then you pivot to Team Brooklyn, where the narrative flips. They see a young man finally growing a backbone and standing up to a mother who prioritises image over happiness. Sources say the senior Beckhams are absolutely seething at the constant comparisons to the Sussexes. David has dedicated decades to cultivating his image as the ultimate patriotic gentleman. To be lumped in with a narrative of family exile and rebellion is essentially the worst possible nightmare for the global brand he painstakingly built. However, the longer Brooklyn refuses to speak, the more this spare storyline solidifies. He is quickly becoming the golden heir who turned his back on the kingdom. But listen closely, because this is the explosive detail the PR teams are desperately trying to bury. As we move deeper into 2026, insiders claim communication between the two camps has shifted from angry text messages to billable hours with attorneys. We are hearing rumours that a strict formal communication protocol is now in place. If David and Victoria want to speak to their son, they allegedly cannot just pick up the phone. Everything has to be routed through specific pre-approved channels first. That is the ultimate no-contact power play. We aren't just looking at a family feud anymore. This has evolved into a full-blown legal separation of two multi-million-dollar corporations. The Beckhams are scrambling to insulate their legendary reputation, while the Peltz clan is aggressively fortifying brand Nicola, leaving Brooklyn stranded in the crossfire. Or maybe, just maybe, he is the one who insisted on the legal barriers. The most chilling evidence lies in Victoria's recent documentary project Brooklyn is essentially a ghost in the final cut. Sure, they used the archival footage from the early 2000s when he was a child, but when it came time for modern-day interviews and commentary, he reportedly declined to participate entirely. Let that sink in for a moment. He refused to sit down and support his own mother's legacy piece, effectively boycotting the celebration of her life's work. You cannot blame that on a busy schedule or conflict of interest, and that is a deliberate, calculated statement to the world. Ultimately, this isn't a simple tale of a villain and a hero. This is a tragedy about what happens when maintaining the family trademark becomes more vital than the actual human beings in the family. Victoria and David constructed a masterpiece of public relations. They meticulously curated a world of absolute perfection, where every hairstyle was precise, every outfit coordinated, and every child played their role in the script. But the problem with children is that they grow up, they develop their own voices, their own fierce loyalties, and sometimes they stumble upon a new script that resonates with them far more than the one their parents wrote. Is Brooklyn actually betraying his parents, or is he simply the first Beckham brave enough to realise that their golden picture frame was actually a gilded cage all along? Regardless of the hidden truths, the illusion of the untouchable united Beckham clan has shattered. The curtain has been pulled back to reveal they are just human. They are fractured, hurting, and living proof that you can have all the wealth and influence on the planet, but you cannot purchase a grown man's obedience. The silence stretching between London and Los Angeles right now is absolutely deafening. And in the high-stakes world of the ultra-famous silence, is often the most expensive commodity on the market. If you think the Beckham drama is intense, wait until you hear about the legal earthquake shaking Hollywood. We just released a massive deep dive into how a top-tier lawyer's sudden resignation is threatening to expose everything. It is blowing the lid off some incredibly dark secrets hidden within a legendary filmmaker's estate involving millions of dollars. It is a mystery so twisted it makes this family drama look like a playground dispute. You can catch that full investigation right here on the channel. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. Because in 2026, the most important stories are the ones the elites are working overtime to hide. We will catch you in the next video. Please note that the content provided in this video is intended strictly for entertainment and commentary purposes. All information presented here is derived from public reporting, social media speculation, and anonymous insider allegations. We make no claims regarding the absolute factual accuracy of these private family dynamics or personal matters. All individuals discussed in this piece are presumed to be acting within their legal rights and personal freedoms.